Government shutdown, and this is CNN.
As we follow the joyful reunions that have taken place here in Israel over the past 24 hours or so, there is still pain. Joining us now is Ruby Chen. Ruby's the father of American-Israeli hostage Itay Chen. Itay's remains and the bodies of 23 others are still held in Gaza. Ruby, how are you and your family doing right now after some of the other hostages, both alive and dead, the remains of some of the dead, have been returned?
A lot of disappointment. You know, we understood with the agreement that it has a lot of holes in it, specifically about the deceased, that there were no sanctions that were put in place, that if Hamas do decide not to give the remaining hostages, there would be some leverage against them. I flagged that to Mr. Witkoff, flagged that to the Israeli teams, but we moved forward with this framework, and now we see what's happening. And we, of course, you know, it's so difficult to say, well, yesterday I had expectation of getting the worst possible phone call that any parent could get. And when the day ended, I was disappointed that I did not get that call. How odd is that?
As you thought you would get a call saying the remains, the body of your son Itay are being returned.
And that's not a happy phone call. No. And I was disappointed that I did not get that call.
What are they saying to you, the authorities, about this?
That they will do what they can to say that Hamas has gone off what was understood and agreed upon. But you know, Wolf, after 2 years as a U.S. citizen, Itay was the youngest U.S. citizen taken on October 7th. You know, the previous administration, you know, we didn't have that much hope that they will call out for the U.S. citizens. But President Trump and his team have talked so much about putting Americans first. And I don't understand how, when this category of deceased coming out, that the United States was not able to put its foot down and say to the mediators, to Qatar, we want our citizens back, we want those U.S. citizens, and for some reason, I don't know why that's not happening.
Itay's an Israeli, but also a U.S. citizen.
He's no less of a U.S. citizen than you, myself, anybody else, and the U.S. administration has an obligation to bring him back, especially its citizens, and I wonder why that has not happened until now.
In this new article that you wrote for the newspaper USA Today, you write this, and I'm quoting, you say, Hamas, quote, still holds my son's remains hostage and implore the world, please don't call this over yet. Tell us more about what you mean.
Well, yesterday we were at the Israeli parliament with President Trump. You know, it was like the game is over. Like, you know, now let's celebrate, the party's done, let's move on to the next thing. And we were like saying, no, that's not the case. The Israeli House Speaker, Mr. O'Connor, he even said, you know, I'll take off my hostage pin because it's done. And like, how could you say that it's done? There's still 24 hostages, and my son is no less of a hostage than those that came out yesterday. Yes, we're very happy for those families that are being able to hug their loved ones. But my son is entitled just as much to come out and for my family to have the closure that it expects to receive.
And in the USA article that you wrote, you also write, and once again I'm quoting, that you've been living in, quote, a state of suspended mourning, unable to grieve, unable to heal, unable to bury our children in the land they loved and defended. Tell us why it's so critical for you and other families to get the remains of your loved ones and have a proper Jewish burial here in Israel.
Yeah, so from the Jewish tradition, the Jewish soul lives on for eternity. And the body is a vessel that holds the soul until it moves on to the next form in this eternity. And by not, you know, we say rest in peace, where the body should be at rest. Without that, the soul is stuck. And that's also how we feel, where when you start the mourning period, you are in a place where you are less active. You are mourning and you think of what's happening next. But we've been active, we've been fighting. We're not able to get to that point that we can actually start that healing process that we should be entitled to.
When did you actually learn that your son Itay had been killed?
That happened in March in 24. Initially, when the IDF got to the tank that my son fought in, there was nothing forensic about Itay, meaning there was no blood or anything that gave any indication about his physical status. And what we were told was, look, if there's no bad news, you know, think good news. And that was the way that we operated. And even when the IDF did notify us in March 24, it was based on intelligence. And there's always that doubt that exists, because without it becoming physical, without seeing it with your own eyes, you will always have that doubt. And when we met other families that got their loved one back to burial, that was what they said to us. It doesn't make the pain easier, but it just allows that doubt to go away and allow them to start that healing process.
As you know, President Trump keeps saying that the war in Gaza is over. What do you say to him?
I say to him, Mr. President, with all due respect, and that's what I told him yesterday, the job's not done. And there are those 24, including two U.S. citizens that he and his administration has an obligation to allow us to be whole. And we know that Mr. Witkoff, Mr. Kushner, they are working and they are on the phones and they're doing what they're supposed to do. We understand there's some friction going on now between the mediators, the U.S. But Wolf, after such a long time, I don't care about the process. I want to get to the bottom line. The bottom line, my kid, the youngest U.S. citizen, should come out after 2 years in captivity.
19 years old, right?
19 years old.
Who's the other U.S. citizen?
His name is Omer Neutra. He's from Long Island. I'm from the city, New York City. And they have been taken 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, and still being held. At the beginning, there were 12 U.S. citizens that were taken hostage. And in fact, that most people do not know, 46 U.S. citizens were killed by Hamas on that day. And I think the question to the administration is, where's justice for those 46 families?
So are you hopeful that your son's remains will be returned in the coming days?
I, talked to Mr. Witkoff and the other U.S. Officials. They claim that they are on it. But again, it's been 2 years, and I think this is the window of opportunity. And I pray to God that we do not lose that window of opportunity, because we know there are other families from the previous violent cycle that was with Hamas. 10 years ago, there's the Golden family, that their son, Hadar Golden, has been in captivity for 11 years. I don't want to wait 11 years, Wolf. This is now the time to put the pressure on Hamas to bring Itay, as well as the other remaining hostages in Gaza.
Let's hope Itay comes home in the next few days. Ruby Chaim, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate everything you're doing, and our heart goes out to you.
God bless. Thank you, Wolf.
God bless you as well. And Jessica, I know you got some more breaking news.